What's going on, guys? It's Jake. We're back in for another YouTube video. Today we have some goodies for the Forester. If you saw the title, you probably already know, but we have the Radium dual pump hanger. This is going to supply all the fuel for the new Power Goals. So super excited to have my hands on this thing. We're going to get it installed in the car in this video and show you guys how to do it. But first, we'll get you guys up to date a little bit. If you missed the last video, I'll put it up here where we did the Chase Bays brake line kit install. So we have the portioning valve all mounted up, all the lines tight and right, secure. So yeah, I'm super excited with how the engine bay is coming out. If you guys like this type of content, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button. Let's get started on this Radium dual pump hanger. First thing I have to do is get the old one out, obviously. So I've pulled the rear end of the car apart a little bit. So let me get you guys a good look at that. If you guys see, I've pulled the rear end a little bit apart already. It just has some trim that covers all this stuff up that you can just pull right out. And then there was this little plate that has 4 screws to hold over your fuel pump cover. And under that, you just have your feed line, your return line, and your vent line. And then your plug that supplies everything power. Now, as you can see, I have all that unhooked. The only thing that's holding the hanger in the fuel tank now is just these 8mm nuts all around the entire hanger. So we're gonna go ahead and get those out. I'll put you guys on a little time lapse. We'll get this hanger out of here and then we'll start on prepping the Radium one to get it in and show you guys how to wire it and do all that good stuff. So stay tuned. So we got all of the 8mm nuts around the outside of the hanger loose, and I folded the lines in so that way we can pull this right out. But we're gonna go ahead and get this out, but first I want to grab a bucket so that way I can put this thing directly in a bucket and spill possibly maybe no fuel or as little as possible. So I got my bucket here now. We'll go ahead and pull it out. I'll get you guys a little different angle here. You can see what I'm doing, and we'll keep you guys up to date. Alright, so we have the hanger out here. Let's go ahead and get this Radium hanger prepped and we'll get going on the install. Okay guys, now that we have these two on the bench, you can really tell the difference in the two hangers. The stock one is good for stock applications, but for my kind of power goals, we're gonna need this Radium. It has dual 450 WALBROs in it, which will supply all the power even with E85. And the only things we're gonna need off of this stock hanger is the fuel level sender right there and the little fuel temperature sensor right there. So we're gonna get that stuff off here. Luckily, Radium has some really good instructions. So I'm basically just gonna be following the instructions, but I'll show you guys how to do it. But yeah, I'm super stoked with this thing. Let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna work on the stock hanger here. Just put the Radium one to the side. I'm gonna unplug the fuel level sender and also the fuel temperature sender. That way we can get these plugs that we need all spliced up and where they gotta go. So see, so there's just a little push pin here. Unplug that. So now that we have this like this, on the manual instructions says to go ahead and cut this with as much wire as you possibly can. We're not going to be worried about this old plug, so we're going to go ahead and nip these right here, and that way we can get these onto the new hanger. Get up real close to the plug, nip them right there. Now we're going to get this piece off of the hanger. So it's just a couple Phillips head screws. So you see right there, you could also use an 8mm on that one, it looks like. And that might actually be the only one on this hanger. It said that there was 2 in the instructions, but I believe that might be the only one. I was wrong, it's actually a 7mm. I'm gonna go ahead and use a ratchet just for safe measure so I don't strip the screw out. So you can see that loosens up the fuel level sender. So we can move that to our new hanger here in a couple minutes. Let's go ahead and get this fuel temperature sender out of here. I'm not quite sure how it comes out. I believe it just pops out though. We'll see. Yeah, so it just slides right out. It's just kind of like a pressed fit, but there's your fuel temperature sensor right there. I'm pretty sure that is going to be it for this stock fuel hanger. We can go ahead and put this thing to the side now and get started on the Radium. Alright, so the next step they want you to do is put this little black connector on your fuel level sender. So we're gonna do that now. I've already crimped these into these little connectors that are supplied by Radium, and I've already cut my shrink tube. Make sure you do that and put it on the line. Just wanted to show you guys that before I go ahead and shrink it. So I'll go ahead and shrink it, and then it just plugs in to this plug right here. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You just push it in until you hear the click, and it doesn't matter which side goes in which. Like the polarity doesn't matter. So we'll go ahead and put that on there, and then we'll move on to the fuel temperature sensor. So we finished up with the fuel level sensor, and now we're looking at the fuel temperature sensor. So I've already crimped these two on here. I haven't shrunk the tube yet, but you can see she's crimped. And we'll slide this on here, shrink this up, and move on to the next step. Okay guys, so the next step is to connect these two wires to the bottom side of the temp on here. So we're gonna connect them to right here on the bottom using these little 3/8 nuts, and then we're gonna secure this thing to the body of the Radium hanger. So I'll show you guys. You can see we got the fuel temperature sensor right here mounted on the body of the fuel hanger. It was kind of a pain in the butt with these little wire ties. I'm surprised that's the way they hold it on. It's gonna be fine, but it just kind of surprised me a little bit. It's very hard to get these wire ties in, especially if you already have fuel pumps in the hanger. I had a little bit of a hard time getting that one through both of those holes there, but we got it wire tied in about 5 places up here as well, and we got it hooked up to the temperature. Like I said, the polarity does not matter on those, so it's hooked up to the bottom side of the temp. And now, unfortunately, you are only able to put this fuel level sensor on once the fuel hanger is halfway in the tank. So I'm gonna have to get somebody to help me put that on, and you can see that's where it mounts with them 2 Allen heads right there. But we'll go ahead and do that. I might put you on a little time lapse for that just to get it done, and yeah, we'll catch up with you after. Alright guys, this is where we are currently at. Trying to get the fuel level sensor attached to the fuel hanger. It's really challenging actually, because at the angle there's not really anything but your fingers to get it started. And I definitely agree with Radium that it's way easier to do with 2 people. So you can see how that angle is not quite right. It's probably hard to see on the video, but it isn't. And it's very challenging because you can't really get anything in there to start it. But we'll go ahead and get it done, and then we'll worry about the wiring after this. Alright, so we got the fuel level sensor onto the fuel hanger. We're gonna go ahead and drop this thing down into the tank. Got our new gasket on, and tighten up these nuts to hold this thing down into the tank. So let's get it done. Guys, so we got it all put in. We got all the 8mm nuts secured properly. I don't know the torque spec, but just feel them with your hands, and you don't want to go crazy. It's a real small stud. So anyway, we're done that. We're gonna wire up the leveling now. I'm gonna go look at the supplied instructions from Radium and see which 2 of these wires would go to this leveling, and then we'll put those on, and then we'll go ahead and do our high current wiring for the 2 pumps, including the hob switch, and show you guys how to do that. So stay tuned. So I've been doing a little bit of wiring here with the fuel temp sensor and the fuel level sensor. On the paper here you can see I circled what exactly I am. There's a whole different reference chart for different models. So I have a 2005 Forester, like you guys know, and I have the red and white on the hot temp, the blue and black on the ground temp, the blue on the ground level, and the white and black on the level hot. So that is exactly what this thing told me to do. And the only 2 wires remaining are for the fuel pump, which are the yellow and black, and the black right here, like you can see on this paper. But we're gonna have to wire this thing up for a high current using these 2 pumps, and probably put the relays down here in the spare tire well. And yeah, we'll see how we do it, but I'll let you guys see it. So I'm in the car right now. You can see I've been working on a little update. It's kind of a mess back here, but I've been working on mounting up the relays and the fuse holders that go straight to the battery. So I've been using this chart right here to show you where everything goes. And also I bought 2 of the DIY fuel pump wiring kits from Radium, so that helps out a lot. It gives you everything you pretty much need. And we got both of the fuse holders hooked up to the hot. Now we can hook the other side of the fuse holder up to the hot on the relay, and then we can hook up the blue wire. It's going to be our trigger wire, and the other wire is going to be the wire providing our fuel pump power once the trigger wire is signaled. So that's exactly how these things work. One's going to be a keyed hot, the other one's going to be on the pressure switch, which I have right here. So I'm not sure what pressure the tuner will tell me to run, but we can adjust this and dial it in as we need. And the trigger wire is going to be hooked up to this, and this is going to be hooked up to a vacuum or boost port. So I will likely have to run one of those blue trigger wires all the way up to the front of the car, so that way we can get a boost reading back to this trigger wire and basically open the relay, tell the second fuel pump to turn on, thus giving us enough fuel to make enough power under high boost. So that's how all that's set up. We're gonna go ahead and keep wiring here, and I'll catch up with you guys here when we get a little further. All right guys, so you can see we made a little progress here on all the wiring. I've been nonstop working on this for the last couple days to get everything clean and tidy how I like it. You can see I actually drilled a hole in 2 places of the fuel hanger cover, and I put grommets in there. That way my wires, when they come through, they won't get cut by the little sharp edges when my drill bit. But yeah, we got the fuses right here, the relays right here. Now, one thing you guys might want to consider if you're doing this, you guys are going to have to probably run this wire forward if your battery isn't in the back. Luckily, my battery I relocated the last time I built the car, and it made it super convenient for all this wiring. But we'll go over the wiring real quick just for everybody that needs to know, try to help you all out. So we have the 2 fuses right here. Basically these supply power for the relays. So these go over, connect to the relays right there, each one. And I actually use these connectors. I'm just more familiar with them, like using them more than the ones they supplied. So we use those, and they go into the relay right there, the hots, and then the hots come out of the relay, go straight to the top for the hots of the fuel pump. They have little connectors on there. They connect to the top of the fuel pump there, each one. And then we have our grounds right there, the black ones. They go over to that seat strut there that you can see. And now the only thing that's left to go over is the trigger wires. So that is the blue wires. Now what I got going on is I got the blue wire for this relay on the right going up and connecting straight to the hot of the fuel pump, like the old hot that we weren't no longer using. And then what I have is another wire connected to that same plug. So let's see. So you can see how there's that yellow one down in there right there. So I got 2 wires coming out of it, if you can tell. So the black one is our trigger wire for fuel pump number 1, so that way it'll be on when it's keyed hot, and the relay will open and it'll send power to the pump so it'll run. And then the other one, you can see we have this wire coming up here, and it is actually going all the way to the front to our boost switch. And it's actually a shielded wire that comes for radars on boats. And you can see both wires coming out of it. This is some really good stuff. And we ran the red all the way forward and the black all the way back to our trigger wire on our second pump. So that's how it's set up. I'll go over here and show you guys the boost switch where I mounted it in the front. So we're up to the front of the car. You can see the boost switch mounted right here. I was actually extremely happy with how this got mounted. We got it all plugged in, everything's right and tight. Let me see if I can get a little look at it for you guys. So you can see I used this little factory clip that has this little grabber in it to hold our boost switch. And then we have those same 2 wires that were coming from the back all the way to the front, and it just clips in there real nice. And we'll use a little adapter fitting to make this 4AN. All my boost lines are gonna be 4AN. Then they'll both come around and be held together. We're not gonna use the same boost source for the switch and the fuel pressure regulator, but I'll hold them together, secure them nicely. But yeah, that's how that came out. Now I can show you back here where the wire comes down. So let's fold this seat up for a second. So right there, that hole is where the factory fuel lines were. I actually removed them while I was in this hole here, and that's the little grommet that they would typically go through. I'll probably just fill that grommet in with some silicone and put it back in. But this wire right here is the one that's going all the way to the front. So it's ran underneath the carpet there, just where the factory fuel line was, and it goes right up and connects. That's how that came out. I'm super happy with it. But this is gonna conclude the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to be as in-depth as I possibly could with this install, trying to cover some things that not many other people on YouTube are covering. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button. We're doing this for every video for the entire build. We have a lot of good parts coming soon. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys in the next